Good morning.
Good morning. All right.
Welcome. This is Journey of a Lifetime. This is class 5, role of the husband and wife. Y'all ready for this one? The role of the husband and wife. Woo.
Wait a minute.
This should be fun. This should be really fun.
You should have said yay.
Yeah.
You said woo. You should have said yay.
Before we do anything, we want to review a few things with you. Of course, you all remember our privacy clause or our practice. Just so you'll be encouraged to share anything, just know that nothing will be repeated outside of this room. And I think that should give you confidence in knowing that you can be free in here. You can be free, okay? The next thing is Couples in Covenant is every third Friday, unless there is something going on like during the holidays. Those are the times that you really need to pay attention to our dates. And so please, please, please make sure that you are looking for the emails or text messages from Bobby or whomever. Also, let's see. Of course, remember, for those of you who are getting married, that when you get to the end of these sessions, you're going to have that private time with the elders. And we really want to encourage you not to skip over that. We have so many couples that we hear that was really where things really got good, is during those sessions. And so please make sure that you make that a priority. Almost as much as you made these classes a priority, you really want to make those classes a priority. That time with them is going to be precious. And I think that's it. Oh, y'all remember that if you're getting married, you get a discount on your marriage certificate for completing these classes. Every dollar saved counts.
Amen. In my pocket.
All right. Okay. And you all remember us. This is my handsome husband to Marcus, Cleveland, country boy, Macon, Georgia, family man, good guy, great guy. And he makes me feel like I can do anything. He's a great encourager.
I'm going to remember that. The key is make her feel. Okay, and so this is my lovely wife, Cole, or Colette, call her Cole, and entrepreneur. She wears many different hats, but she's funny. She really is. And yeah, she is, she's my rock. Yeah. Mm-hmm. My safe place and my safe haven. All right.
Okay, thank you. All right, so without further ado, we're going to jump right in, everybody. The role of the husband and wife. Everybody have the material in front of them? Yes? And then also please make sure you sign our role. Yes, thank you, Chandra. All right. Okay, we're going to jump right in. Can somebody, do we want to read this first part and then we'll let them read?
Yes. Wives, understand and support your husbands in ways that show your support for Christ. The husband provides leadership to his wife the way Christ does to his church, not by domineering, but by cherishing. Ephesians 5:22-23. All right.
Wow. Okay. Can somebody read 1.0 for us?
At the very top, discovering your roles.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Everybody still asleep? Everybody still asleep?
Okay, everybody still asleep. All right.
He got, All right.
All right. So discovering your roles, Ephesians 5:21-33, Genesis 2:18, 20-25, definition. And online dictionary defines the word role as 1, a character or part played by a performer. Number 2, a function of position. 3, the characteristic and expected social behavior of an individual. Okay? Just as the players on a football or basketball team have different roles, a husband and wife have different roles in their marriage. As we discuss this important topic, you probably already have in your mind, whether conscious or unconsciously, what role each of you will play. Many things will have influenced your perception of your roles, your parents, your culture, your television, experiences, etc. All of these things have shaped your thinking and perception regarding the role of the husband and the wife. So, however, your perceptions must be in accordance with God's design for marriage. So this is a good segue for us to go ahead and talk about the roles of husband and wife that are already
Imprinted
and present right now before we even go further into the discussion today.
Yeah.
So if y'all would like to share some of the roles that
You've seen. Just like they said,
or
some
what
of
you
these are
already
on
think.
television. It could be a part of your culture.
What you've seen displayed in the home or not displayed in the home.
Yep. What are some things? All right. I'm going to start calling names. Okay, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, I guess traditionally speaking, there was a time, I guess, where a man would go out and work, make money, stay home and raise the kids. And what I saw
Yeah.
in my household was both working parents.
Okay.
They did what they had to do as far as raising us. They worked opposite shifts if they had to, which happened a lot. So, one minute dad would be working 8 to 4, next minute he'd be working overnight.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh yeah, he worked a lot of crazy shifts. He works with the Department of Transportation.
Okay.
But there was a time where he did ask mom to stay back and raise us, and I think it was just for the structure, So I think that's kind of just an example of them being adaptable in their
Yeah.
roles to do what they had to do to make the family system work.
Man, that's a good example that you had. Man, that's awesome. Okay. What else, guys? What are some you could have seen things on television or culturally? We understand that some people in different cultures, y'all, things are very different, right? Very different. Yes.
Well,
Would you say your name? Y'all say your names just so we can.
Michael and Jasmine.
Before you speak. Good morning.
The role, I haven't really seen husband and wife role.
Oh, tell us about that, Jasmine. That's key. Tell us.
Yeah. I grew up with all women, 3 women, my mom, my granny, my auntie. In the short period of time, my mom was married for like a year, and he was like the best stepdad ever.
He was?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, he's kind of like the only, like my dad wasn't really around. So
Okay.
He's like
The male role model.
yeah. But he
Okay.
was only around for like a year and a half, so it didn't last long.
Oh, wow.
And then it was a year, there was a time during the year when I was like 14, 15, I stayed with my dad and my stepmom. And I don't think it was a good example. So
That wasn't okay.
there's not much to really give off of that.
Yes.
They were kind of like, they're married, but they're just married. And they're there.
Okay.
And not,
It wasn't a team. It wasn't a union.
it wasn't, I don't know, it just.
Yeah.
really
It wasn't a
worked
good
that-
example.
yeah.
We get it. We get it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But that's
Yeah.
the examples that I've had.
Wow.
So-
Did you have any other examples? Like, were there any aunties and uncles that had a great marriage, or any, a mentor of yours? Anybody like that?
No. I've been raised by all women.
Wow. That is so good for you to know, Michael. Very, very important for you to know.
So how's it
Yes.
kind of influence your thinking? Just being, being raised by a lot of women and and then trying to mesh
And become
and
one.
become.
It was difficult. I also was like a single mother too, so I was just everything was on me. I had to make decisions. Like I didn't have anybody to fall back on, which was my mind frame. And now it's eased off. Like since I have my little monkey here, I have a partner now. But I grew up with strong women, and they're very strong-minded, very opinionated, and I got to do what I need to do, and that's how my mind frame has always been. And so now, now just kind of molding myself into a partnership, that was difficult because he offered to do things, and I'm like, no, I'm okay.
Okay.
Because in my mind, it comes with a
price.
yeah.
Oh.
So it's like, no, I'm okay. You don't have to do that. I don't
Wow.
have to hold anything over my head. So it took a minute for me to adjust. He's doing this because he cares.
How long have y'all been together?
2 years.
2 years. Okay. So, but you do see the adjusting happening.
Definitely.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, definitely. And I will say he is what I needed. He's the example. He's the love that I didn't get. He's everything that I needed in my life. So.
Praise the Lord. All
Right.
right. Okay. Anybody else want to share?
D, I think D, you had something you want to share?
Okay.
No, I did also.
Oh. Okay. He was
I
kidding.
grew up in more of a traditional household where my father worked, my mother did not. Actually, she did, but it was just very different. She actually was a midwife, but I didn't know. So I grew up in a house where children were seen but not necessarily heard.
Okay.
So you didn't know the ins and outs of the adult decision making.
Okay.
You knew what your responsibilities were as a child, and you were clear about your boundaries, and you knew what consequences there could be were they breached. But overall, she was the home,
the homemaker.
She set the tone for the home, and he also set the tone. But primarily he was
out working.
He was the decision maker.
Okay.
But there was lots of love in the house. It was just very different from today.
Lots of love, but just very different.
Very different.
Was it? Did you feel safe in your home? Did you feel secure, loved, nurtured?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was.
All right. So it was a good. It was
a very good balance.
It was a good balance. Okay.
Different. Older, so perhaps that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Older parents. Okay. Because I'm detecting something. I'm trying to figure out what it is.
I think I got a little sad because I missed them.
Oh, okay. All right. Got you. That's what I detected. Okay. Thank you for sharing. All right. Okay. So we've heard some traditional ideas of what it looks like. We've heard about strong women and no men around. Did anybody else want to share? Did you want to share?
Sort of similar to hers, but
Tell us your names again for us.
My name is Bobby Raptor. So, sort of different, similar but different.
Okay.
My dad was the decision maker.
Okay.
Even though it was 2-parent household, my dad both worked, but he was the one that didn't want my mom to work.
Okay.
So it's sort of the same as hers. We knew our place in the household as children, but he was the affectionate one.
Really?
Yeah, my dad. He would always say, "I love you." He would always give the hugs. And the mom was the tough one. Go sit down. You want a hug from her, you had to wait. So.
Wow. So how is that translated? That image that you saw in your home growing up, how's that translated with you today in your home?
I didn't want that for my children, so anything they needed, I tried to be there for them. Let them know what was okay, and the hugs and affection that I wanted them to come from me.
Okay. Oh, all right. Good. Okay. You feel like we got enough there?
Yes. Thank you guys for sharing. All right.
Okay. All right. Let's look at 1.3. What do you feel should be the role of your spouse? What is it that you feel your spouse should be doing? What is their role?
Safe place.
What do you think? We're just sharing. There's no right or wrong answer. Just put it out there.
I was previously married, and one of the reasons I believe that my marriage fell apart, I was never together to begin with, if I'm to be honest.
Okay. All right. Honesty is good.
Okay.
Free yourself.
Okay.
Yes.
But I think beyond being the provider of the home, speaking of the male part, I think that the husband's role, I believe, he should be the protector of his wife, of his children, of his household. I didn't get that the last time. And I'm not saying it's a crime if he didn't do it. I think it was what I was accustomed to.
Okay.
My father, he ruled with a big skin stick, as
Okay.
they would say.
Yes.
In a positive way. But you knew who, if you wanted to come into our home, you knew you had to go through several doors, and he was going to be the first door to get. In my household, my marriage, not so. And so for me, that was a big part that was missing.
Wow. Oh, that's good. That is good.
So now you see that connection, right?
Provider.
See, now, a lot of it now has come forth. Now you're in a relationship. You kind of see, what you grew up with, how you were influenced. Now a whole lot has come forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we always, I don't know for everybody else, but I know you always grew up and say, oh, I'll never do that with my children.
Right.
And I found myself, and each day I'm learning, but I have found that I have parented my children almost the way I was raised.
Okay.
Wasn't necessarily good.
Oh, okay. So some good and some things not so
because
good.
I'm raising modern children. I grew up in a more formidable home where everything was just well ordered. You don't do that to children today.
Oh.
You need more flexibility with them.
I
And
see.
I wasn't as flexible as I should have been.
Are your children?
Oh, they're grown now.
Okay.
Now my son is 22, my daughter is 25. But I see where I made.
I understand that. Okay.
That's a very key point. Because today's society is ever evolving. The children have more access to the outside, the influences, whereas back in the day, there wasn't a whole lot of influence coming into the home, and the home was the influence, and so that set the tone. But now it's like, oh, I saw this on YouTube or whatever. It's like, you can't tell me, it's like, where you get that from? And so, you got more influences coming in, they got access. Absolutely, that was very key.
Okay, so we're talking about those roles, guys. A little bit more, and then we'll go on. What do you feel the role of your spouse should be?
Well, I can say that I'm practicing something new. My household was governed with an iron fist like hers. And so, of course, that kind of mentality did kind of rub off on you. And like she said, because of the time we're living in, you do have to have flexibility. So I'm learning to rule with a gentle fist instead, where I'm not always quick to either establish a punishment but I still establish guidelines for discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's right.
So that way he knows what I expect of him, but then moving forward, you know, I can actually hold him accountable. But I don't just go for the gusto right away.
Okay, gotcha. That's good. That's good. And does anybody, what do you feel like your spouse should be doing? That's what we really want to get to.
For instance, I feel like
Watch yourself.
in the morning it would be nice to, have you up with me, and if you could help me get out the door and make some breakfast for me.
You so
So I
spoiled.
can-
He is
Yeah.
spoiled.
Because a lot of love that goes into that food you cook. And so it's just a great way to just send me out the door on the way to work with all that love in a bowl. And I can, eat on it, and yeah.
And when I'm asleep, if I don't get up, he just be in the room making noise. Like, maybe she don't hear I'm up. Like, why she still in the bed? The king is up. Okay. Yeah. Let me tell you something about growing up and having these things that are imprinted on you and you don't realize it. At nighttime, I didn't realize this, but in my marriage, it used to bother me that sometimes, doors wouldn't be locked, the alarm wouldn't be on, and I had to just do a soul search to try to figure out why this was bothering me so much. And I finally remembered, as a little girl, I can remember my dad like every night going through, checking doors, putting the alarm on. He would look outside. I mean, it was just like he was just going through, making sure that his domain was like, safe or whatever. I don't even think he does that now as a grown adult, maybe because he's just gotten old and tired, I don't know. But this dog's in the back, maybe that's why he doesn't do it. They alert him to everything. And I was just wondering why is he not doing that? What's wrong with him? He could come in after me. The alarm may or may not be on. He's always concerned about checking doors, but it just was. And I realized that that's what that was. It was just, like somebody said it's something that you saw, and so it's just, you just naturally, I didn't even realize it consciously. I just subconsciously felt like that's something that he should be handling. I shouldn't have to be checking doors and making sure the alarm is on,
And what umbrella did that fall under for you?
Protection.
Okay.
Protection
and the S
and
word.
Security.
Security.
Yeah. Protection and security, which is big in my world. Yeah. So y'all see how we come in and sometimes you don't even realize these things have been imprinted on you, and then you are projecting them on your spouse. So yeah, interesting. Okay, can somebody do 2.0 for us?
I feel the need to clarify some things, but we're gonna move forward.
Clarify on that?
Yeah, we're gonna move.
Y'all
move
know
forward. We're gonna move along.
All right.
See, I'm using restraint.
Okay.
All right.
Are we reading 2 or 3?
We're at
2.0. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2 survey.
Oh, y'all's is
I'm
different
sorry.
than ours? Oh.
Are you looking at the biblical?
Oh, look at that one over
I'm
there.
sorry.
Let me see. Okay, well, ours is 2.0. It says role concepts. Let's see.
Yeah, that's it. That's.
Did you mean 2 or 3? So start with 2.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay. I'll go ahead and read.
Okay.
It says, before you take the plunge into your marriage, the survey contains some role responsibilities that need to be answered. It is important that you know where each one stands on these issues.
Okay.
Same
All
thing.
right. So, guys, we want to make sure that you guys complete that survey. Okay? Can y'all take a peek at it right quick? All right. And remember, when you're doing these, you want to do these on your own. This is no input from your future spouse or your spouse. Do these on your own, and don't answer in regards to what you think they want you to
hear.
Be honest. You know, that's how we make progress.
Yeah.
Be honest. If this is what you think, then make sure you put that down, because that needs to be discussed, guys. You don't want to start off, with lies. Just be real.
Because just like you grew up with these things in the house, and you have habits, it will come out through your actions. And then they'll go back and like, wait a minute. She gave her 5 strong. She said strong will agree, but no, this ain't adding up.
Right.
She's constantly doing that. That's going totally opposite of what she's put on the survey, or he. So
that is so good.
Our habits will definitely
it'll show up. And usually after 2 years, there's usually a 2-year shelf life of where you can fake it.
Yeah, you're right.
After a while.
It's about a 2-year shelf life on that. Have you guys ever had that experience? You meet somebody and they present themselves as one way, but after like a couple years, it's like, who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you? People can keep that charade up for about 2 years, and then you're going to get the real. And so your process is you want to unpack, you want to get to the real as soon as possible, so that God can begin to do a work. You can see what's really going on. You can see those layers and the issues, and you can be able to make it through.
I always say, get it out now while the moment is tender. Okay, while the moment is tender, you're tender towards each other. Your heart is still soft. There's no hardened crust around it. Protective layers you built up, and so there's grace, right? There's grace. There's mercy. We can work on it, and
that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's keep on reading. Cause somebody else.
Okay. 3.
The biblical role of the husband.
Yes.
1:10, 42 through 45, and Ephesians 5:23, verses 25 to 31. The fundamental role of the husband in his family is that of a servant leader. It is a position of leadership and authority that God has called the husband to fulfill. In Ephesians, the Apostle Paul provides a vivid example of this servant leadership relationship between a husband and wife by comparing it to the relationship between Christ and his body, the church.
Okay. Listen, I want to read Ephesians. It says start at 25, right?
23.
1 minute. 23? Okay. 23. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ also is the head of the church, he himself being the Savior of the body. But as the church is subject to Christ, so also the wives ought to be to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself up for her, so that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of the water with the word, that he might present to himself the church in all her glory, having no spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she would be holy and blameless. So husbands ought to also love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his own wife loves himself. So no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ also does the church, because we are members of his body. Okay? And it goes on to talk about leaving and cleaving.
Oh, well, yeah, we did mention that, yeah. And
Okay.
Go ahead, 31.
Okay, he wants me to read that. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and shall be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh.
So you guys remember us talking, Elder Walt was talking about the man leaving father and mother. So we just kind of went in a little bit more into depth as to where that came from and the reference of the scripture.
Okay. All right. So this is good. I'm going to stop right there. All right. But so guys, let's look at that. Let's look at A, B, C, and D. Let's talk about that. Can we get somebody to read that? Did you stop there, didn't you, Vert?
Yes,
Okay. Go on. Can you go ahead and finish?
Letter A. The role of servant leader means, number one, the husband assumes overall responsibility for the direction of his family. Two, the husband assumes the responsibility for helping develop his wife's gifts and abilities. Can I pause there for 1 second?
Okay.
Right.
I did not know that.
Wow.
When we first got married.
Yes.
So
What do you know, Levert?
that I was responsible for helping develop my wife's gifts and abilities.
I don't think many people do. Did anybody know, any men in here, did you know that is your responsibility biblically? That your responsibility is to help nurture her gifts, her abilities, the things, her talents, for you to see that, speak that life into her, and then encourage her. And yeah, that's huge.
Number three,
Please.
the husband sacrificially pours out his life on his wife's behalf so she can become all that God intended for her to be. Number four, the husband takes the initiative to serve the needs of his wife and family. He denies himself and puts the welfare of his family ahead of his own.
Ooh. Okay. All right. Let me hear some conversation on that. When I learned about that, I was like, wow, that's a serious mantle. Yes, what?
He said,
We understand.
Well, tell us about that. I mean, no, tell us just what your thoughts are, though.
No, it's interesting because I'm reading it, and for me, not bragging, but for some things are intuitive.
Yeah.
Okay, some things are intuitive. Yes.
it really does.
And I think that's probably where the comment came from. It ain't
Uh-huh.
happening. Because it does happen.
Yes.
Now, ladies, I want y'all to take a minute and look at this, the role of the husband, okay, and the weight, right? Seems like it's very heavy.
That's
Does
what
it
I
seem that way?
thought. That's what I thought. You thought so too, Mike?
Well, yeah, because it honestly, with all of those roles, it almost makes you wonder what is the wife supposed to do.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
We are gonna get
Right.
there.
Right.
Yes.
I'm
Right.
not saying that.
No, I totally understand. Go ahead. Say what you're saying. I understand.
Like he said, I looked at this list and didn't even realize that a lot of these things are things that if I weren't doing already, I have molded myself to do. But then it also, again, it's like you said, if the man's holding up the earth, then where does the woman come in the relationship?
Wow.
Because it's almost like he's doing so much that there's nothing left for her to do.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I think because of that, it can put a lot of pressure on a man. It could overwhelm him. It could make him feel like, because I've been there. It makes you feel like you're dealing with a lot on your own.
Yes.
And you
Oh,
don't have
man.
the support you need to keep going, keep moving forward.
Man.
Ladies, did y'all hear what Mike said? Okay. All right.
Okay.
Levert?
Yeah, but we're gonna find out where they come in at.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
How it's gonna
Yes.
help us, and then you won't feel that, like you have that pressure, like things. Oh, okay, now.
And that's where that beauty comes in,
That's right.
of it being a team.
That's right.
Yes. Okay. Oh,
So-
that's so
I get where he's
good.
coming from.
Yeah. Men, do you guys get where he's coming from? You know, just the feeling like it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot on you.
Yeah.
You know, there's a mantle that God gives a man. And ladies, what I want to share with you, when we are trying to carry the mantle that God has naturally bestowed upon our men, that's where we are completely out of whack. We are stressed out. We feel
You're out of order.
we're
really out of order.
Thank you, baby. That's what I was trying to say. We are
Yeah,
out of order. And
It's not
and
your role.
It's not our role.
And you're not designed.
We're not designed
You're not
for it.
equipped.
We're not equipped. Say it, brother.
Yes.
And speaking about us, you know, I was a single mom before Tamarcus came into my life, and I grew up in a home with a mother and a father, but my mom is a strong woman, and my father is a strong man. And so I saw a lot in the home. It was a loving home, a wonderful home, but I saw a woman that was very, very engaged, and they made decisions together as a team. And when I was single, I was just like, okay, I'm running this show. And I just had to, when you're by yourself, you have to handle everything. And when he came into my life, it was very difficult for me to understand that I now had, a leader, someone that, I'll never forget, y'all, I'm tell you this one story. We hadn't been married long, and I had some problems with my car. The car broke down. I picked up the phone, I was dialing my dad, and something just, a switch went off like a and I was like, oh, I can't call my dad. And I was like, I have to call my husband, and it was just this moment of, I was nervous. It was different, and I was like, well, he's a nice guy, he's gonna be okay. I mean, it was just so strange, but just that flip, that change.
He's a nice guy, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was just.
That was about me.
Yeah.
As your husband.
As your husband.
Married. He's a nice guy.
I'm telling you.
This after she done married me.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. It's gonna be okay.
Well, I felt like it's just that moment of, again, I'm used to handling things myself, and the way I would handle things was
it was habit.
I would call my dad or my brother, like, hey, I need you. Because it's like, that's their responsibility. They're assigned to me. So, that's how I saw it. It's not going to be a burden to them. They're assigned to me. They understand that. But I just had that moment where I had to switch gears, and
that was habit. That was key.
Habit.
She was under the umbrella of her brother and her father, and now, because that covering, right? Now it's you. She's now under your covering. So it's like you can't go without insurance. You can't let that insurance lap or anything. It's like you can't go from one job to the next job and quit this job without having another job. It's got to be a smooth transition. So it's like, if I'm going to go under this umbrella, I got to make sure that it's safe and I'm going to be protected. And okay, all right, well, okay.
That's exactly how I felt. That's the visual of how I felt going under his umbrella. I was like,
meanwhile, you still kind of tethered a little bit. Like, just in case I need to get back under here, because this umbrella getting real small.
Yeah.
Can't cover me.
Oh, boy, that's so good. And it was challenging for my family, too, to watch me leave and cleave. Wow. Very challenging for them. Okay.
So in this context, we're talking about the role of the husband, servant, leader. Ladies, I do want you to keep in mind there's a phrase that we as men can tend to go through during this process, and it is the silent scream. Okay? The silent scream. So all this weight, this pressure, okay, us trying to man up and handle these roles and these responsibilities. And if we as men don't have a place to get these things out, we're not really connected with God, or relationship is not as good as it needs to be. A lot of our behavior, you see things start changing, there's a silent scream on the inside. There's a silent scream, okay? This weight, how am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? Scream, silent scream. Okay, so always kind of keep that in mind.
Wow.
All right?
Okay, that's good.
And that's a little bit of that's coming from T.D. Jakes. It's called He Motions. So just something for y'all to check out, really get a understanding of what the He Motions, H-E motions, that's going on the inside that you have no idea of what's going on inside a man.
And ladies, let me just say right there, understanding this mantle that they have, as we look at and we see, this is how God has wired a man. And so when he is out of order, he feels crazy. Oftentimes, this is when men will do things that are out of character. This is when there is, drinking going on. They're trying to cope. This is when easily things can go awry in a marriage, when either is out of order, okay? And so we have to keep that in mind, and we have to be looking at our spouses and praying for them. This is when we come in, and so we can see, man, it's something off. Let me pray for my husband. Let me, Lord, he may not be willing to talk to you, because a lot of men, you guys, they go through things, ladies, and they may or may not want to discuss it. Most of the time they don't. They have men caves, and they go off in their cave and they try to work things out on their own. And so oftentimes we have to be that help me and pray and step in and what's wrong, and really try to ask God to show us how we can help, how we can fill that gap, how we can help them figure themselves out. Isn't that good? Okay, you were going to say?
I was going to ask the question, but what about boys who are raised without this, without the good examples, without the direction that he is the direction of his family when he does get one, that he's supposed to, to develop the woman that he calls wife, and that he is supposed to sacrificially pour out his life. What if that was never exemplified, even if there's a father in the home?
So you bring up a great point.
Ooh, so good.
I was gonna then touch on this, right? So what if that wasn't exemplified? What if now this young man now who has become a husband, right, is in this position, I'm a husband now, and realize I was never taught. I didn't see it, I had example. Now what do I do? So God the Father, right? God the Father, going to God and sitting before his feet and submitting ourselves to him when you don't have that. Mm-hmm. And so, having somebody in your life to lead you in that direction, and as a mom, even as a mom or a woman, just having this knowledge that you can pour into another young man and share and say, hey, God the Father, like these are your roles, like this is your role. So so it just goes both ways, having that knowledge as a woman to be able to share to a young man. If a man is not even around, it's you're leading, guiding him to his mentor, which is God.
My husband is a walking example of this, guys, because he really did not have that example. He did not. His mom was a single mom, and the example that his father was kind of around, because he went and made himself. T went and put himself in front of his father. It wasn't that he was sought out and nurtured. Does that make sense? Yeah. But God, through the years, through his word, through mentorship, through partnering with other brothers, have just helped to mold and shape him. I say all the time, with the way he grew up, it's a miracle he is who he is. That's nothing but God, right? God will come in and he can do it. And the knowledge that you guys are getting this morning, we get the cheat sheet. That's why it's so good that you guys are doing this. You literally are looking at here. They have broken the word down, and here is the definition of servant leader. So every young man that you can get your hands on, you can really help them understand this will make your life smooth sailing, brother.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Since times are different, a lot of young men are growing up without the male figure. It's almost like it's like you said first. You pray to God, but it's also by committee. It's almost like it's a help. It's a team of people that it might not be that one particular person that's going to pour everything into them, but it could be a host of people.
Exactly.
They help it, so they see, and then they can still get it. You still got what you needed in order to be where you are today, to be who you are today, as a man, as a husband, and as a father. But I know it's difficult sometimes, but it's also for us as men, we got to step up and see that we can help a young man and lead him in the right direction. We have to be willing to sacrifice, like we talked about. So it starts with us.
So good.
And making a decision. really making a decision.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Next, B.
So we're on B. I can go. Many men have an incorrect concept of what servant leader is. Being a servant leader does not mean you have an I am the boss attitude, right? You make all of the decisions yourself, or you selfishly seek to control and manipulate others so you can meet your own needs. Number 2, that the wife has no input regarding the affairs of the marriage. Number 3, you become a passive non-leader. This husband provides no direction for his family. Number 4, you are better than your wife. Let me go back to 3. That passive non-leader, that can be dangerous too. That passive aggressiveness, that aggressive kind of kicks in. You kind of get into being a baby. It's I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna hurt myself to get some attention. All right then. Well, you ain't. Well, it's just very childlike behavior. That whole passive aggressive, and I see a lot of guys kind of go into that whole passive aggressive attitude. When it comes to relationships, it's a very immature state to be in. Yes.
Why? I just want to ask them, why do you think men go in that direction sometimes? I'm following that.
Okay. Yeah.
Anybody?
Mm-hmm. Let's hear from you fellas. Why do you guys think that sometimes men take a more passive role in the home?
Lack of resources.
Lack of resources.
You mean like money, or is that usually the case? Money
or connections. Like, you could know someone, and just knowing someone could be the difference between you staying ahead above water and drowning. If, for example, let's just use me as an example of landscaping, it slows down. Mm-hmm. So whereas you were making more than enough, now you're making less than enough. And so you have to find a way to balance that out. Well, it's a very competitive field. Mm-hmm. So everyone's not just like, I got a couple of yards for you, here and there. So you really are drowning. So you would have to find a way to supplement that income, or have people around you, like a support system, friends, family, who are willing to help you. And when you don't have that, you kind of go into a state where you feel like there's nothing you can do.
And then how does that affect the union, the relationship?
I guess it's multiple ways. Some people just kind of curl into a ball. Some people take it out on others. I think it's different ways that it affects the person depending on the person. But it's a loss of power, and it's a struggle to maintain your position in the house.
Wow.
Okay, Levert. All right.
Good stuff.
Yeah, because one thing I noticed now that women are making more than men, and they're giving more opportunities, and sometimes they feel like they can make the decisions because they make it more.
Yes.
It comes down to it.
So
so that's how some men fall back into that passive. Well, I just let you do it since you making a little more, then I just do what I do. Type of deal.
Oh, that's so good. That's good. Yeah. Okay.
So which is key, right? It falls into knowing your role. Okay, knowing your role and understanding that you are you're not defined by the trinkets in your life. You're not defined by the car. Like, that's not who she married, right? That's not you. You're not the car, you're not the house, you're not the money. A lot of times it's, you meet up in college and y'all get together in college like before you had anything. So us as men understanding our role, usually we're very competitive. We usually kind of define ourselves based on what we have, what we've achieved, and that gives us that gusto. But then when it's gone, we lose it. It's like we lose our mojo and we don't have anything to kind of root ourselves in. And that's when it's like, oh man, my relationship with God it ain't where it needs to be, because I shouldn't be this low because I lost this and I lost that. It's like I should still know my role. It's like my wife needs to she still needs to know that she's beautiful. She still needs to know that, you know, there are things that I can provide to her as a man that just because she's making more money now, she still can't get, you know. So that's why knowing these roles are so important for us, because I've been at that place where I've lost my job, right? And then it's like now what is my role? And so if I was just thinking, okay, I'm just a paycheck and that's all I am, then you know, do I really know my place? Do I really know my role? It's many other things that you're there to provide.
Yes, that's good. Okay.
All right. See, so
Can somebody read
Anybody?
C for us?
The motivating factor for a husband that serves and leads his family is love. A woman will find it difficult to submit to a man's leadership if she does not feel that he loves her. A husband is to love his wife unconditionally. This means to love your wife with no strings attached.
Ooh.
unconditional.
The Greek word, agape is the Greek word for unconditional love. It is an unselfish love that is always ready to serve. It springs from a sense of preciousness of the object loved.
Wow.
And the scripture reads, but God commanded his love towards us, in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. It's Romans 5:8.
So, Mike, you mean to tell me when I go to work, I work all day. I'm busting it for my family. You mean to tell me if she does not, fix a brother a sandwich or something, or you mean to tell me I still gotta be nice, I can't have no attitude or anything like that, if she don't, kind of see to my knees or whatever, and I'm tired. Is that what you're telling me?
That's what it says.
I can't feel no, and I can't feel no way about it, really. I can't.
Well, as humans, I think we have a right to feel how we feel, but we just have to humble ourselves and keep ourselves in check. Yeah.
Whew, unconditionally, Mike. Okay, all right.
It's a day-to-day battle, right?
Okay,
yes,
all right,
sir.
all right. Okay.
Okay, can somebody keep reading for us?
As Christ brings God's best out of his church, a husband is also to bring the best out of his wife. He does this by nourishing and cherishing his wife. To nourish means to promote the growth of, to furnish or sustain with nutrients. To cherish means to hold dear, treat with affection and tenderness, take care of and protect, to feel and show love for another. The word also means to keep fondly in mind.
Ooh, this
Okay.
is so good. Okay, we gotta hurry up, but it's so good.
Well, I guess, okay, where'd you start, Mike? Okay, in mind. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, number 2, as a husband, I can
Yeah.
cherish. Okay. Can we just go, let's go ahead and finish up.
And then we can chat.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. Becoming an active participant in managing household affairs, foregoing your needs.
Well, hold on a second. So, as a husband, I can nurse and cherish my wife by men?
No,
Yeah.
Becomes
supporting her dreams.
Supporting her dreams? Okay.
What else? Men.
Constantly encouraging and motivating,
Okay.
Encouraging.
All right.
for good for mental health.
Okay.
Okay.
Men?
Right here. What can you do?
They keep you in prayer that you can keep going.
Yeah, that's
Keep her in
good.
your, keep her in your prayers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Alone or with her?
With her.
Okay. All right.
I
Pray.
mean, really, it's
Yeah.
both.
It's both.
Yeah,
But
both.
including her in your prayers, because you can be praying alone and then
She has no idea.
she has no idea and she's like, you don't ever pray with me or pray for me, right? You don't care about me. Okay?
Number 3, as a husband, I can nourish and cherish my wife by, I put in supporting her dreams, and just pouring into her how good she is.
Okay. All
That's
right.
good.
Mike, can you go ahead and all right, so finish.
Okay. Foregoing your needs to ensure that her needs are met. forgoing something he wants for something she wants.
Keep going. Oh, yeah.
Mike had to pause for a minute. He was like, wait a minute.
It says forgoing something he wants for something she wants, meaning what he wants has to align with her needs. And that's deep.
Well, oftentimes it means that what you want is just set aside so that you can make sure she gets what she needs. Well, it's like it's that sacrifice. It's like, I want to do X, but she wants this. I'm sacrificing, she gets it.
But you know, the thing is,
that's challenging.
Right, because it's like, how long do I have to sacrifice? Like, how long do I have to put aside, you know, if I really want that motorcycle, how long do I have to, you know, how long do I have to put it aside and sacrifice it? You know, is it, that's
well, not even just in that aspect of it. It could be in the physical, mental, and emotional part of it. How much of my sanity do I have to sacrifice before I get a break?
That's important.
Absolutely. And see, here's the thing is when you're in a godly marriage, and this is why it's so important that you are entering into a union and you really are trying to be equally yoked. Because if you are with a godly woman and you are making these sacrifices, there is something that is wired in us to be your helpmeet. So when we see our husband sacrifice, let me tell you something what's sexy. When my husband is sacrificing for me and for our family, that is when he is sexiest to me. It's when he is most attractive. When he is working, he is doing without, he is, you know, it's something that it must be the God in me. I can't even explain it. Because I tell him, some of the times I tell him, I'm like, boy, I was about to jump your bones. I had to control myself. Oh my goodness, when you were out there working with Chase, oh my gosh. And he goes, oh, really? Yeah. That's what did it? You know, I'm like, yeah, see? So it's different. So we have to trust the God in us that don't go there. Okay.
What's funny is during the most inopportune time, right? Like, I ain't thinking about you. I ain't ready. You know, it's like, I can't even do nothing with it. You know? I'm knee deep in this. But she's like, but I just want to let you know. I'm like, okay. And then I say, well, hold on to it, okay? Hold on to that feeling. When I'm done what I'm doing, okay, I'm coming back. All right, I'm going to cash in.
Keep going, Mike.
Not comparing her unfavorably with other people, especially other women.
Ooh.
Consistently demonstrating to her that she is the most important person in your life.
Hey, Mike, what was that first word?
Consistently.
Consistent. Go ahead.
Yeah. Speaking and acting respectfully and tenderly towards her. Expressing the fact that you appreciate her, and by thanking her for the things that she does, even the little things.
Wow. Ladies, as you hear Mike reading those words, how do they feel to you? Doesn't that feel right? It feels right, doesn't it? Okay. Yeah. Yes.
When it says speaking and acting respectfully and tenderly towards her, that's sometimes that could be challenging for men because we already not talkers like that when it comes, you know, to sharing that side of
right.
us, that tender, that soft side. You know, we know that women love to hear those words as well as see in action. You know.
Oh man.
But LeVert, what is it? Where might we end up talking though about her, about our frustration?
Yeah,
amongst others in public, not even knowing it, you know, unconsciously mentioning it. You're right, and then she's like, "What?" You know, then she kind of hears and find out. So, just kind of being in control of yourself and being aware. Yeah.
We
haven't even got to the wife yet.
Really go in. I know. Let's go. Let's get to the women. Okay.
Heavy. You said let's get to the wife. Let's go.
Number 4, the biblical role of the wife. Genesis 2:18, Ephesians 5:22 through 24. So I read for the men. So let me read for the wives. I'm at Ephesians 22 through 24, it says, wives, be subject to your own husbands as to the Lord. That's 22, yeah. It says, for the husband is head of the wife, as Christ is also the head of the church, he himself being the Savior of the body. And one more, but as the church is subject to Christ, so also the wives ought to be to their husbands in everything. And then the next thing is in 33, nevertheless, each individual among you also is to love his own wife, even as himself, and the wife must see to it that she respect her husband. That is our command. Respect. Now, y'all saw all those verses that men have. The one thing that is clear for us is respect your husband. Isn't that interesting? Respect is huge in a man's world. If a man feels disrespected, see all these things over here on this list, okay? Help tending to the house, foregoing his needs and sacrificing, all that. It is very difficult for a man to do when he's being disrespected. Very difficult.
So something we learned before at a marriage conference, just there's a cycle of love and respect, right? And it's reciprocated, and it's men love, women respect. Men love, women respect. And so whenever that cipher is broken, love stops. It actually is more to this, that it indicates when the love stops, then the respect stops. And then when the respect stops, then the love stops.
Because they're the same thing.
Yeah, so one is giving, man stops loving, she stops respecting, and she stops respecting, he stops loving. Simply put.
And so the mandate, here's the thing, guys, the mandate is on you to keep going even if she's not doing her thing, and you pray for her, and she's, so see the weight, that weight is still on the man to love her even while she is out of order. And a good example of this is if you guys know Elder Mike and Veronica, you all know them, they're elders here. Their story is so amazing, guys. Just in a nutshell, a lot of crazy things went down, and there was a season where it was like War of the Roses. Have y'all ever seen that movie? It was all kind of hell and damn in the house, and just spite, finesse. I mean, you could have. It was so bad at one point. She was calling everyone that she loved, and she said, "If I end up missing, he killed me." That's how bad things got. She said, "I want you to know he killed me. He did it." That's how bad it was. But people ended up sowing in his life, and he got changed. God came into his heart, and through his love, he just started loving her. She was kicking and screaming. He kept loving her. She was cussing and fussing. He kept loving her, guys. And through his actions, he won her over, and now they are where they are in Christ. It's a beautiful thing. And every time I think about that, I think about that example that God showed us through them. Awesome. Okay. All right. We're trying to keep on going with these women. God has called the wife to be the role of a helpmeet or a helper to her husband. Due to God's creative act regarding Eve, men have gaps in their lives that wives are uniquely qualified to fill. In the Old Testament, the word helper often refers to God and the help that he supplies. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, Psalms 129. B, a helper is a strong person who provides support and assistance to a weaker person or someone in real need. Okay? C, the role of wife as a helper is not a secondary role or a role of lesser importance. You as a helpmate are just as equally important to your marriage as your mate is. For indeed, man was not created for the woman's sake, but woman for the man's sake. 1 Corinthians 11:9. Okay. D, the opposite of being a helper is being a competitor. Competitors exploit weaknesses to gain the upper hand. A competitive wife will lead to her husband becoming resentful and frustrated. The second role of the wife is to be the lover of her children. Normal child development requires a close, loving, and sustained relationship with at least one person during a minimum of the first 2 years of a child's life. Okay? All right, guys. Anybody want to comment on that section?
I just want to ask the women: have you ever seen yourself or seen anyone in your the women in your family as a competitor to their spouse?
Unfortunately, I have.
Yeah. Have you seen that in action?
I've seen it in action. It's the worst thing. When you turn your husband into your competitor, it's the worst thing. Yeah. Okay. Because he comes home with a sword. When a man walks through the door, if you can visualize this, he comes in the door. He is supposed to put his shield down, and he's supposed to put his sword down, because he's walking into the doors of his safe haven. And that's just, I don't know where I learned that, but that's how I visualize myself. When he comes home, I just like, welcome home, babe. You know, the dog runs to him. Chase stands up out of respect. I walk towards him. And it's just, you can now relax. You put your sword down, your shield. I'm your safe haven. What can I do to serve you? That's how we want our husbands to feel. If they feel that respect, it's easy for all that love to come. And when you do that behind closed doors, he will show up for you everywhere else. Makes sense,
Yeah,
ladies?
that's good.
All right. Okay. So the wife's response to her husband's role. Can I get somebody to help read?
The wife's response to the husband's role is of submission to his leadership. When a wife submits to her husband, she allows the husband to be the leader of the family. Submit, to yield oneself to the authority or will of another. Submission is not a role, but a response to the role that God has given your husband. There have been many teachings on this topic. Some have been correct and some incorrect. However, despite feelings about the topic, it is important for a couple to understand what God means when he calls for a wife to submit to her husband. A submission is a positive idea, not a negative one. It does not mean enabling wrong behavior, but empowering your husband to pursue right behavior. Submission does not mean that you are inferior or your husband is better than you, that you lose your identity. You are passive and compliant, blind obedience to your husband's wishes. You should feel used, allowing your husband to be physically or verbally abusive. B, submitting to your husband involves proper attitudes and actions. C, a wife's willing submission to her husband's leadership means that she understands God's design for the marriage and that she wants to honor God's word. Titus 2:5.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
B, can we
What?
talk about B? Submitting to your husband involves proper attitudes and actions. How does that work? What's proper? What's not?
Wow. Well, I want to just share here again in the climate of the world that we live in, ladies, a Christian woman submitting, and particularly when there are so many women that are, as someone said, making more money, so many women used to being, as Jasmine was saying, around a lot of strong women, and because of the lack of strong male leadership in so many homes, submitting can be a very challenging role, an act. So ladies, this is something that I have to constantly work on, and this is where you get help from God. You cannot do this in your own might, in your own strength, in your own flesh. This is to me, submitting and making friends with this, it is a gift from God. Because I noticed that when I dial myself down and I say, God, help me, because I have such a strong opinion and I have such a strong presence, and I just have to go, help me, God, help me. And when I do dial it down, my husband springs to life. It's like the man in him, just the warrior, everything just springs to life. And he's told me before, I am never more attractive than when I submit. And that is so hard for a strong woman to digest, because our families were dismantled. So many women, we had to fend for ourselves, and you just get into that habit. But when you submit and you trust your king, and you trust your servant leader, and you trust, and I've heard myself sometimes say, he'll say, well, what do you think? And I'll share what I think. And I learned a long time ago, say, whatever you decide, whatever you decide. I try to say that, and I try to say often, you're my hero. And I'd say these things, and I was like, and he does little stuff, and I'd be like, oh gosh, you're my hero, babe. And he could have just put a screw in something and whatever. But, and I was like, oh my God, I said, I don't know what I'd do without you. Oh, thank you so much, honey. You're my hero. Look.
I'd be like, she just being all extra and stuff.
And
but
so,
okay. All right.
But ladies, it matters. And I even do it with our son. Our oldest son is gone. So you hear us talking a lot about our youngest son because he's still in the house. And so I started doing it with him as well, because he's junior tech. This is senior tech. They're really technically inclined. And when he's not around, Tamarcus has given Chase the mantle of junior tech. So when junior tech steps in, he does something. He looks at me. He now looks at me and waits. And I go, you are my hero, Chase. You're my hero. You did that. Oh, gosh, I'm so grateful for you. Gosh, Daddy's not around, and look at you. You are handling it. You are just handling things. That little chest puffs out. And the other day he said, he did something. He said, I'm waiting. I said, you my hero, Chase. Boy, you do that. You work, It matters, ladies. Don't think that does not matter.
I can tell you just from experience and just innately, ladies, when she really humbles herself and dials down, because see, we rise to the occasion of meeting the need, right? So if you and I tell ladies a lot of times, a lot of women I talk to at work, I say, you got to dial it down. You got to humble yourself. You have to become the damsel in distress, right? If a man doesn't see, because he wants to, we have this innate thing to feel needed, right? And that we can make a difference. We can solve the problem. We can fix it. So if you never present anything that can be fixed, or you got everything, it's like,
I got it.
Why am I here? But when she does dial it down, and it's like, damsel in distress or whatever, it turns us on, like, how can I fix this? How can I meet the need? And you kind of, stepping in as the hero, and you just kind of run to it. And it's very refreshing. It's very refreshing, because I know her usual nature is very strong and very strong and very, very strong. And she can be very opinionated. So when she does do that, it's a light that kind of shines, because it's totally going opposite of what she's naturally inclined to do. And then, I'm sorry. When that does happen, speak to it, just like she is speaking to our son. Say, babe, I noticed that you could have gone the opposite way with that. I noticed you really tried to kind of dial it down and give me the opportunity to rise to the occasion. You was really fighting in yourself. So speak to it and let her know that you recognize it. Then she's like, okay, he see me trying to change. Because we always say, don't you see me? I've been trying to change. I've been doing it. Don't you? It's like, witness me, witness what I'm doing.
Yes. There's a movie that we saw, and this guy, it was the theme, and it was like they wanted to be witnessed, and they said, "Witness me."
before he died.
You got to witness me.
Yeah.
Witness me. And so often in our marriages, you just want to be like, do you see me trying? You know, witness me. I'm trying to change here. And so when you witness it, acknowledge it. Don't just skip over it. It will be a blessing in your marriage. You know, if you see, Bobby, your husband's name? Terry. If you see Terry doing something that you know Terry really he is really making a try. He's really sacrificing himself. See it, witness it. Don't skip over, ladies. Don't skip over, men. If you see your wife and you know she got a flippant mouth and you just said something and you know and you ready, you doing like this because you were like, ooh, I shouldn't have said that, right? And you see her, okay, and we are praying and like, help me, Lord. And you know, and you see that and you see her turn around and say, baby, can I fix you something? Can I get you a sandwich? Can I fix your food for you? When you see that, witness her. Because it's huge, guys. And that's God in motion. That is God in motion. All right.
Can we touch on, I know this is, it's dealing with it, but this is my second marriage, so I'd like to just touch on the fact of when, first of all, you need to be equally yoked.
Yes.
That's key.
Yes.
But touching on the topic of when you're married to someone that's not a Christian.
Okay.
And submitting still to that.
Oh, God.
And what 1 Peter 3 talks about, the unbelieving spouse still submits.
Yes.
So, you know, we may be engaged or we may have been married before and experienced that, which I have in my first marriage. So, and it was difficult because I was saved. He said he was saved. But then, so just knowing, of course, first of all, you have to be equally yoked.
Yes.
That's the key. And don't get in it if you know it's not God.
That's so good.
And that is key, Elizabeth, because that is the thing that's really going to bring you all together, you know, because you can have what you grew up with and what you grew up with. It's like, okay, how are we going to come to a truce? What's going to bring us to that point where we going to lay aside these ideologies and our thinking, and it's got to be God. It's got to be coming underneath that covenant of, okay, what does the word say to you know, kind of bring you to terms with, you know, you got to see to have the same ideals of spiritually, you know, and conviction, you know, right? Bringing us to that point of being arrested, right? Absolutely.
And something along that same line. Are we right here?
Yeah, we need to go. We
need to go?
Yeah.
I'll do it if we get to the end.
All right, the husband's response to his wife's rose.
Okay.
Number 6.
Okay. Who's going to read?
The husband's response to his wife's role of helper is to praise and honor her. Praise and honor are the masculine counterparts to submission. Praise and honor encourages and enables the wife to fulfill her calling. Her husband praises her, saying, many daughters have done nobly, but you excel them all. Proverbs 31, 28 and 29. Grant her honor as a fellow heir of the grace of life. 1 Peter 3 and 7. The humility of the woman is the acknowledgement that she was made for the man. The humility of the man is the acknowledgement that he is incomplete without her. Both share equal dignity, honor, and worth. Yes, and each shares a humility before the other also. Each is necessarily the completion of the other. Each is necessarily dependent upon the other.
Elizabeth, this goes back to what you were saying, being equally yoked. How do you get to that point of humility? Being equally yoked. You know? How do you get to that point?
Does everybody know what that saying means, being equally yoked? Everybody?
Because we say it a lot.
We're saying it, but...
And two Christians can be unequally yoked.
Yes.
Yeah. It means, I'm going to just say, it means that spiritually, like, okay, for example, if you were going to marry someone and they are not a Christian, you're going into a situation where there is not an equal understanding of everything, basically. They don't have an authority in their life. There is no, you have an authority. Your authority is, your God is God. They don't have, you understand? And so you're going in and you have one path that you're going, and they're on a complete another path. And it is very hard for them to honor you, recognize you. It is just, oh my gosh, it's so challenging. And then in regards to being Christians unequally yoked, the same thing can happen. You guys, you have some people that go to church every Sunday and they literally have no relationship with God.
No, because you've got someone who's been born into a Christian family.
Yes.
Before you start to Christian.
Yes.
You have no relationship.
There's no relationship. There's no relationship. They've just been going to church. They've not submitted their life to Christ. So you can't just say, oh, because somebody goes to church.
Or it can be a radical Christian situation where you're picking and choosing scripture, to dictate, to become a dictator of the relationship, and, you're taking advantage. You're taking advantage of the other person.
Absolutely.
You're using the word as a browbeater, and
Yes.
not holding yourself accountable to the word.
Exactly. Okay. So
To manipulate.
I think
Now,
we've got
now
a
y'all
little bit
notice
more
that the
time.
wife section was real short. The role of the wife was really short. Yeah. It yeah.
Good. Ain't got good.
But here's the thing. But this is okay. This is what I want to get to. because that God has given men such a strong mantle, ladies. You all see it in the word, right? It's in black and white. You see what he has called men to do. Some men understand this, some men don't. Okay? But because there's such a great, great mantle, what God did when he saw, oh, wow, there is more of a need here. Let me make woman, because he's not even equipped. If you get that, and again, it's like that last sentence, y'all, I hope y'all got that. The humility of a woman and the humility of a man. That therein lies his humility, realizing that when God made him, he's like, dang, I missed it. I've got to create a woman that's going to fill these gaps. I missed some things, some key things here. We women, we are uniquely qualified to be the completion of our man. I am honored. You see, if you see it as an honor and not a burden, it will change how you look at your husband. Men, if you see your wives as the completion of you, as your blessing, then it will help you understand her better when she is, sometimes, ladies, I hate to use this word, but we can nag, because sometimes we see the need and we're just, but this is what you need to do, right? You need to do this. We have to be so careful.
What's that word? What's that word you just said?
Nag.
No, the other word starts with an N. Need. Yeah. This is what you need to do.
Yeah, it's because here's the thing.
So let's talk about Mars and Venus.
Oh, Lord.
Right? You need to.
They don't know what Mars and Venus is. Assume they don't.
Okay, so the book, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Talks a lot about the dynamics of man-woman relationship, and just talks about scenarios and things that we say, that men say, women say, and then the response usually is, it's, you need to do this. And hearing that come from you, like, you need to, is kind of like,
I'm not enough.
I'm not equipped, or, directions. Directions is a common thing we talk about, right? Following directions. And knowing where you're going, following directions. And, men talking about, hey, after you've realized you're lost, and having to kind of bring it back. Are you going to look at the directions, honey, or can we? I got this, So, but it talks a lot about that. But
So I was,
Go ahead.
you, okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So what I want to make sure that we get here is that what God has done is such a beautiful thing. It's kind of like the class where we were talking about understanding your differences. The roles that we have, if we come into agreement, all right, Amos 3:3, come into agreement about the roles. Make sure, if you can do this before you're married, make sure you're clear on, what you desire from him. Make sure he is clear on what he desires from you. That it's discussed. So there are no surprises once you guys are together. If you've been married, guess what? It's okay for you to redefine who you are. Mm-hmm. And for you to come into agreement and talk about, say, this really feels good to me. I desire you to do more of that. This feels good. Desires is what we're really wanting, guys, and getting on the same page. How can two walk together except they agree? And so God is, all these things that we're talking about, God got it. He got it, and that's why he gave you this gift of a husband, and that's why he gave you the gift of a wife. Amen?
Yeah, and so I was talking to somebody at work, and a young lady, she was trying to understand some things about her and her husband relationship and herself, but I said, you have to die. And, I was talking about having to die to self, right? But I kind of put it differently. I say you have to die to self to let the other person live in your space, right? I said you got to die to self in order to let the other person live in your space. And she was like, oh, that makes so much sense, right? Like, really, and just like us talking about blended families, considering how much time that for instance, I came into my wife's life and she already had our oldest son, right? So I had to consider the amount of time that was already spent, the structure, everything that was developed 10 years beforehand. I had to consider that. So me coming in, we're trying to do a new thing, but it was going to take more time because now I'm having to blend in, and there's already a protocol, right? So I had to consider that time. So in the same effect, considering that time of you being by yourself and being alone, you meshing together, like giving each other that space, and you got to die to yourself in order to make room for the other person to come and live in your space,
That's good.
And so.
All right. Well, you guys.
Oh man, that other key point. So we were listening to some other material on
Dr. Tony Evans.
Dr. Tony Evans. He said a very profound thing. He said that men are the thermostat. We're the thermostats, right? We set the temperature. But the wives they're the thermometers. So they tell what the temperature is. So a lot of times we say you can look at the wife and tell what temperature the husband is, because whether she's happy or sad is usually an indicator of the temperature that he's at. Okay, so we set the temperature, but then how do you know what's going on, what temperature it is? You just look at the wife. Okay, so that was a very profound thing, and I was like, man, that is true. A lot of times you see a couple, the wife is here and the husband's there, and she's mad or whatever. She's got this look on her face, and usually the man's kind of cool, but usually, right, she's the one you can kind of pick up on something ain't right in the house, but the man, hey, how you doing? Good. But I'm cool, but because we compartmentalize, right? We can leave this at there and just totally separate things, but she can't because it's written all over her face, and you don't have to say a word.
Yes,
that's
yes.
Because we're emotional beings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
logical beings.
Yes.
Women,
and everything's connected, right? Everything's connected.
What he said was, he said, men, the measure of your worth is the happiness of your wife. If she's dissatisfied, if she's disgruntled, if she's miserable, there is your measure as a man. And I was like, wow, that is serious. Okay. All right. We're done. Let's go ahead and pray.
Yeah, so we didn't pray in. All right. Father God, we thank you for today. We thank you for this word. We thank you for this time of enlightenment, God. We thank you that you have just chosen us, Lord, to at this moment to be here to receive this information when so many others need this information, need this knowledge, God, to help develop more fulfilling marriage and relationship and understanding their roles as it relates to each other and relates to you. So God, we just thank you today that these couples here will begin to take what this knowledge that they've gained and share it with others to help build a strong nation of married couples and help to restore relationships and families. So we just thank you, God, for this time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.